Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Collider Games podcast. My name is Dennis Den, and I'm here with, from South Africa,
Joshua Weyers.
And also join us, also in the same city, but in a different place.
Okay. What's up, guys? It's your boy, Dorian.
Yeah, we're having a lot of crazy earthquakes recently, and protests, and COVID-19, and all that good stuff.
It's a fun time around here.
People
don't know how to wear their damn mask.
Luckily, we have video games to keep us occupied during this time. All right, not a lot of huge news this week, but there's a lot of fun stuff that we've been playing and that we're going to play. So let's start off with kind of on the back of last week of the Xbox Series X game showcase that we saw that kind of got a lukewarm reception. I think in general, if you go on, on Twitter or online, like, and it's funny because we posted those videos, me and Dorian, and also the podcast, and you had people going, "You guys are biased." I'm like, "How am I biased? I'm like Team Xbox. Like, I've been Xbox most of my life, or most of Xbox's life. So how can I be biased against Microsoft and Team? If someone looked at all the Microsoft stuff I owned, they would be like, "Oh man, this guy's like a Microsoft fanboy or whatever." So I don't know how I'm biased against Xbox.
I don't know. I've been saying we've been Team Xbox since I've gotten the Xbox. I've only gone back to a PlayStation when they have exclusive. Other than that, you can catch me on the Xbox. But yeah, it was just like we said how we feel about the showcase, and we're sticking to it. And also, like, we it's not like we didn't highlight some of the things that we also liked, as well as like the standout of it was Game Pass itself, which I think is the biggest takeaway of all of that was Game Pass. So I'm very excited about that, and hopefully, like we said, I'm cautiously optimistic about their showcase later on in the year. With hopefully they'll have some bigger reveals closer to the release.
Yeah, it sounds like they're gonna have either end of August or early September showcase, because they were talking about showing off some more stuff. So one of the things is a lot of criticism, including ourselves. We talked about the Halo Infinite demo that they showed, and a lot of rumors came up. I remember last week we talked about the rumor that the multiplayer wouldn't be ready, but then 343 came out and clarified no, it would be. But now they're saying the campaign is going to support 2-player local split screen and 4 players online, which I think is fine in this current stage, where most of the time people are not couch co-oping like they used to, and at most it probably is just one. Another thing is people asked about microtransactions. They said they will not be I think they will have microtransactions, but they will not be. They said no money loot boxes. And the reason why
customization to yourself and everything.
Yeah, the reason why I say I'm pretty sure there will be microtransactions is because now the next rumor is that they're going to be multiplayer is going to be free for Halo, like a Warzone, like a bunch of other games, Apex, all that stuff. So that component may be a free-to-play platform. Josh, what do you think about it possibly being free-to-play for Halo?
I mean, well, I know we were all kind of saying last week that it would be a bad decision to launch without multiplayer, even though that was, we found out that was like fake news, or it's like, there was, I can see where like that fake news came from. At the end of the day, it's an issue of like they can't really test the multiplayer in the current climate that we live in. You know what I mean? With lockdown and the pandemic, they specifically said it's too difficult with everyone working from home with COVID-19. It's too difficult to work on a multiplayer aspect of the game. They wouldn't even know how to test it or how to send out the tests. So I can see that there's reason to why there would be a delay if there is a delay. I think it would be smart for them to have it as a standalone thing, because by the sounds of things, it seems to me at least that Halo Infinite they're planning it to be like they're planning to be building on that game for a long time afterwards. You know what I mean? Building content onto that and building new things. So it would make sense for them to have their own standalone version of the game. I mean, I think people would like Halo as a games as a service thing. mind you, me saying that I'm going to get a lot of flack from the actual fan base itself. But um, I mean, it's one of those things where everything's changing. We live in a world where everything changes every single day. So it's like I don't know how people are. I don't know how it's going to affect people when it comes out. I think it'll be cool to see. With regards to the couch co-op thing, I love that. Honestly, if it wasn't for Halo 4 having a couch co-op, I never would have played Halo ever. I was never a Halo fan. It never appealed to me because I never had an Xbox. And then I had a roommate one day who had an Xbox, and he loved Halo. We played Halo 4 split screen co-op, and I loved it. And I got into the game just because of the couch co-op aspect, because a friend pulled me into the game. So I think that's a good thing. I love not a lot of games do couch co-op, let alone a lot of games don't even let you do a co-op campaign. You know what I mean? So I love that. That's a huge bonus in my eyes. One of the things we spoke about, one of the things I said last week, and I couldn't really find a good word or like sentence to describe it as to how I felt about the graphics in the game. And someone actually pointed it out to me that because I actually watched that trailer a few times again afterwards, and I was like, it does look crisp. But why does it feel like the graphics are lacking? And it's because it's a very simplistic design. Like people were saying that a lot of it feels a bit flat. But everything about it does scream original Halo. Like you watch that trailer and that's a Halo game. It doesn't feel like it's maybe 2020 graphics, but they really got like the feeling of the original series, I think. And I kind of like the simplistic design. It grows on you after a while. It's a lot easier on the eyes. And when you're playing these like FPS games that are very intense, it can just be too jarring sometimes to see so much detail and so much color. And I don't know, sometimes it's nice to have like a more simplistic, streamlined approach to it if you're going to be playing a game for hours, you know? Oh yeah, and I read that the grapple hook, because that was something else I was going to think is how's the grapple hook going to work in a multiplayer? But they're thinking of having it as like an item you can just pick up in game, you know, and use it in like certain situations.
Yeah, like a jetpack, like the jetpack from before. Yeah, I'm wondering though that this design choice that they have, if it's the right decision, because there's just so much backlash on it. Because I also read like, yeah, it's like the aesthetic they wanted to achieve. They wanted to go back to the original Halo look, but it does look a little flat. Some of the textures, aren't as detailed. You look at the sky; it's just kind of pretty plain, So who knows? I mean, as far as the free to play multiplayer. This was kind of leaked out from some retailers saying that Halo Infinite was listed as saying that free-to-play multiplayer experience enjoy up to 120 FPS and greatly reduced load times. So it's like one of those things where I don't know. It sounds like that's what's really happening. I don't know about the 120 Well, it says enjoy up to 120 FPS. So who knows?
Well, hopefully it will be a separate thing, though, because like I said, my biggest complaint with Warzone is the fact that I get the Call of Duty updates with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully it will be a completely separate, not tied to the main game thing. If that's something that they want to do, then for the love of God, don't tie it to the actual game in terms of like install size and downloads and update sizes.
Dorian, what do you think about it? The multiplayer aspect possibly being free to play, and also the graphics.
So I'm down for multiplayer mode. Like kind of what Josh said. I would be more excited about it if they made it its own thing, because especially if it's free, I think it'd be a good like kind of marketing tool to say like, hey, if you're interested in Halo, if you haven't had the opportunity to actually experience it before, here's your chance now. And then with all the Halo franchises or all the games being on Game Pass, it would be an easy way to segue them into like becoming more of a fan and then get them into the Halo franchise. So I'm definitely down for it, because I love the multiplayer, and I thought like for other games, like example, like Titanfall, I love the multiplayer, and then it made me want to actually jump into the story. So if you could kind of get more fans like that. So I think it's an exciting move. As far as graphics, like I said, when we talked about it last week, I just find it interesting that I've like recently just played Halo Reach on the PC, and the graphics are looking fine. I think they're quality for when it was made, but when I watched the trailer compared to what I was seeing in Reach, I didn't see that big of a difference. So like for me, I'm like a newer fan, so I don't really care. Like I'm fine with it not having the like looking as super sharp or as crystal, but like I could imagine like for somebody who's already played these games, then jumping into like waiting for this new one, expecting like higher quality graphics, I could see what they're like, how they might be a little bit disappointed with how it's coming out.
Yeah, I read somewhere, and I'm not sure if it's 100% confirmed, that what they did was for the Halo demo gameplay footage, that it was actually a PC running it, but it was a PC running it with Xbox Series X specs.
Mm.
So they.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the that was one of the things I was thinking as a PC gamer is that because this game will be released on PC as well at the end of the year, and
Yeah.
when you do go with more simplistic designs like this, you will get a higher FPS, and it
Oh
is a
yeah,
game.
for sure.
It becomes a lot more available to people with like lower end machines. So that is
Mhm.
always a nice aspect to it. You know what I mean? Especially if you take gaming seriously, you always want that higher refresh rate, that higher FPS. So that is it's nice in that aspect too. And from what they were saying is that if you've never played Halo before, you can just jump in right away with this one. Like it doesn't matter if you've played any of the previous ones or like, but if you do know the
Mhm.
lore, you will be rewarded for knowing the lore. You'll get little, like I'm sure, like little Easter eggs and things you'll enjoy. But I think it's good that they're approaching this from a point of like having a whole new fan base. You know what I mean? A whole new market of people because the
Hmm.
game is really old and it's one of those games where same. I think it's the same issue with like Gears of War, where you're not really bringing in new fans. You know, you're still
Mhm.
just profiting off of the older fans. You're running a story, a narrative that's years old, which people love, but you're not going to be bringing in younger people. You know, so whenever games do decide to do this whole, I wouldn't call it a reboot because it's following the events of Halo 5, but like doing this kind of like soft reboot of the series where it's like we're going to bring in a whole bunch of new fans.
Mhm.
It's a game that anybody can play. Doesn't matter if you've played the previous ones. It's a smart choice, I think.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next thing. The next big game, we just had Ghost of Tsushima come out. The next big game that's coming out is Marvel's Avengers, and that's actually going into beta right now. They released a gameplay overview for it. Me and Dorian we have it. We're gonna play it, and then we'll have some impressions next week for you
Hmm.
guys. But yeah, if you watch just the gameplay overview, they kind of go into a lot of detail
Mm.
about what people are going to play in the beta, but also just in general giving a sense of direction of what the game will be like. And it actually got me pretty excited just seeing the different things, the multiple different things that you can do, whether it's customization of skill trees or costumes or outfits, and also all the different missions, including the co-op missions, which are separate from the campaign missions.
Hmm.
Dorian, what do you think of this kind of gameplay overview?
Dude, this is getting me more and more excited as we get closer to the release. Like we've said since E3, I've been just cautiously optimistic, and as they've been releasing more footage, as they've been releasing more content, I've just been getting more hype because what we've seen to me looks amazing, and what like the story itself I'm really intrigued by. But as you said, from the gameplay overview and what we'll get to dive into as the beta, it's just all the different options of what we'll be able to do in terms of missions, in terms of who we'll get to play with, and I'm really excited to really jump into this co-op mode, especially with how well the graphics look. So I'm definitely like pumped to see what this beta can offer because this is now, since we've seen this gameplay overview, since we've been getting more and more hype for
Mhm.
it, this is now one of my most anticipated for the back half of the year coming up.
Yeah, Josh.
This is the first time I've actually been excited for the multiplayer of this game.
Okay.
Ever since my first time seeing anything from this game, I just kept thinking to myself, I can't wait to play this as a single player game. As a single player experience, I can't wait for that. It's nice to know that if I don't have a friend, I can play the co-op missions with an AI,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
symbol which can use one of the characters that I've already created. You know what I mean? Like in terms of skill tree customization, I believe that they just can use that character, from what I was gathering from that, which is cool. Um, One of the things that I noticed about this now that I saw a lot of multiplayer in-game multiplayer action is that some of the combat, each person's combat does seem like it gets a bit repetitive, but
Hmm.
I think people will be very forgiving because when you're working on a game with multiple, and I do mean multiple like playable characters, you can't spend like an incredibly large amount of time on one character's move set, you know.
Hmm.
They did show the Hulkbuster, which looked sweet. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, that looked really fun. So I like the ultimate. I'm so excited to see what Thor's ultimate's gonna be like, what each person's ultimate is gonna be like. Very excited for that. The customization looks sick. They showed off like, without even like talking about it too much, through looking at like the gameplay footage, you could see there's different like suits for Tony and all sorts of things. So I enjoy that. Um, And I actually really I like the approach that they take towards the whole co-op thing, because it kind of reminds me of Jump Force, which is a game I've spoken about before. But Jump Force has like its own separate storyline, single player storyline, but then it has these like missions you can do with friends, and it's a similar thing. And it gives the game a lot of longevity. I still play Jump Force because of the co-op missions I can do with my friends and stuff, you know. So I definitely see this. If this game is as successful as we think it's going to be, I think it's going to be around for a very long time, and we're definitely going to see a sequel. You know what I mean? And a lot of DLC, and I mean a lot of DLC. We're going to see a lot of DLC for this game.
Yeah, they have with the multiplayer co-op stuff. It's separated out from the main campaign, and you can play. They have different kind of, I don't know, types of co-op mode. You have they have Warzone, Drop Zones,
harm
and Harm. Harm is like more like a.
I love the acronym.
The Harm is just like the X-Men Danger Room. Basically, you get all these enemies that spawn in waves, and then you just fight them to test and practice your skills. But there's no real mission. It's just to practice, and then also just see practice techniques and get better at them. And then where like I'm more excited about is these Warzone and Drop Zone stuff where you play co-op with these like mini missions. They said some last like 10 minutes, some last 2 hours, depending on what they are. And I also like this war table aspect where it's this big map of where you want to go, and it gives this open world feel to it, so I'm excited to definitely. It's 4-player co-op too, as well, which is pretty. For me, like the apex of co-op gameplay, because like once you have more than 4 people co-oping, it's just too much.
I completely agree. Even if it's like local, like four person local co-op is pushing it. How many people can you fit on a couch or two?
Yeah.
But no, it's looking great, man. Honestly. I like how they kind of show off each character has different ways of moving around and movements. Like Hulk obviously moves faster when he's in the air, when he's like doing leaping instead of just like running, and it's cool. I like the individuality of each character.
Well, what I was saying is just like the multiplayer thing about it, just how different characters, like it feels different for each of their type of play. Like for the Hulk, for example, when you see his gameplay, of course, when he hits somebody, it's not going to just like completely or like knock him out completely. But if versus Iron Man, it takes a couple punches versus Hulk. It's just like, all right, be realistic about it. It's the Hulk. Of course, it's going to just take him like one curve stomp and he's done. So I like how they tailor the gameplay to each character, especially what we saw from Kamala. That's one of my most anticipated players to play with is Kamala. Just her traversal by itself, I'm excited to see what they'll do with that.
Nice. All right, let's move on. This one, Ghost of Tsushima had an update. Ghost of Tsushima is kind of the hot game right now. First it was Last of Us Part 2, then it's Ghost of Tsushima. It'll probably be Marvel's Avengers when that comes out. But yeah, they had an update. I know, Dorian, you played they added a few things. They played
that lethal mode.
It's hard as I saw.
And people give me crap. They were like, "You're not good, bro." I'm like, if you watch my live streams, I'm a pretty good player. And the last couple live streams, I've been playing on hard. During the story itself, I was playing on medium just so it could help me like progress through the game faster. Yeah. But I've been playing on hard for the last couple streams, and I've been doing a pretty good job. Like I'm Hawkeye with the arrow, bro. I'm fire I'm decent. And so when I went to the lethal mode, people were like, "Oh, you're trash." I'm not trash if you get killed by one swing. Like, sorry, I missed one parry and they killed me with like. So lethal mode is definitely lethal. When they say it's lethal, shit is hard. So I don't want to hear any crap about me being bad. It's a hard ass mode. That's why it's called lethal. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's all I have to say about the lethal mode.
Yeah, they added this update. That was the main thing that was in it. They added a few other things which I liked, was being able to change the size of the subtitles, because they were too small. They're really small, especially when you wanted to live stream the Japanese voices with English subtitles. It was just no one could read them. So being able to adjust that and then having this new difficulty was. They also added easier difficulty as well. I think which ended up in the accessibility options instead of the actual difficulty modes. So
looks like it's just like an increase in parry time and like
exactly
for stealth and things like that.
you have to be on the mark every time with your parries, or you're like near, like it's either you're dead or you're 1 inch away from health. Thankfully, before I did the lethal mode, I updated the resolve thing to where if you have like 3 resolves, you can revive yourself back to life if you get killed. So that came in handy a lot. But yeah, the lethal mode is no joke. Like it's fun though. It's like challenging, especially if you're a seasoned player. You want to like add some difficulty to it. So I thought it added. It was a very like difficult addition. So if you're down for it, definitely give it a try.
Yeah. So Ghost of Tsushima, we have a bunch of videos up on the channel right now to check out. I'm actually working on one. It's called 3 Ideas for Ghost of Tsushima Sequels. I'm almost done with that, so that either should be up by the time you hear this, or at least the latest Monday. Let's see what else. Oh, Josh, I mean, when are you planning on getting Ghost?
Man, when I get money. I'm in the process of moving, and moving can be quite expensive. I just came back now to this, which is why I'm horrible internet connection again. I'm back now picking up the rest of my clothing and books and stuff. But hopefully soon, because it's, man, every single person, it doesn't matter if I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all I see from all my friends is just their screenshots from Ghost of Tsushima, and they look freaking beautiful, and I just want to play. I want the game so bad. I'm working on it. I'm working on it for sure. I will say this though. I think it was a smart update for many reasons. For one, you have so many. I wouldn't say a lot. It's not like the majority of gamers are hardcore gamers, but there are a lot of hardcore gamers out there, and they will appreciate the lethal mode. You know what I mean? Because some people love punishing themselves like that. You know, they love it. I can't do it. I have friends who play games on that like similar difficulty settings all the time, and I couldn't do it. I see how much rage and so much hatred built up in them when they play it, but then the amount of like happiness they have when they finally do the boss fight they've been working on for a day, you know. And then also, once again, smart at making an easier game mode, so it's more accessible for people who aren't so used to this like Souls-like parry type of combat, you know. Because like you said, Dorian, if you miss a parry, the game can be unforgiving if you don't have that timing, you know. And
yeah, you're dead.
And if you got to think about, there's a lot more other people out there that need that accessibility, that don't have like proper like motor functions, or you know what I mean, like disabilities and things like that. If they want to play the game, you can't play a game that's super unforgiving with like timing if you're a person who doesn't like have good timing because of some sort of disability. You know what I mean? So that's a smart move on their half too. And it's a beautiful game. Like you want it in the hands of as many people as possible. And if you want that one guy who wants to sit there on a boss fight for 2 days, you can give that option to him too. So smart move. I like it. It's giving the game a lot more longevity.
Yeah, which is already giving you a lot of value, anyways. I'm over 50 hours plus, and I haven't 100%ed it yet. I mean, I've finished the main story. I just haven't finished all the. I think I have one more side quest, and then clearing out the villages. So you definitely get your money's worth out of this game. All right, moving on to the next one. I don't think I sent you guys this one because it showed up this morning. Basically, the Last of Us TV series. We all know the producer Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl. He came out and said that he is not going to actually undo or significantly alter the story of The Last of Us. Like, it's not going to really. It's more of, said it's going to enhance or expand the material. So I don't know how I feel about this, because usually people are like diehards of a certain material, right? Like, let's say Game of Thrones books or a Spider-Man comic book, and then when they watch something and it being different, I think that's actually can be a good thing. Obviously, you don't want it to stray from the spirit or the authenticity of what the story and the characters are supposed to be like. But at the same time, duplicating exactly what you've already seen is not as interesting. For example, I don't know if you guys have ever read Old Man Logan, the comic book. Anyways, they made the movie Logan based on that, but it wasn't. If you watch it, it's actually quite different. I mean, it carries the same spirit of it, and it has a few things that are similar, but in general, it's a brand new story with brand new, character developments and all that stuff. So I personally don't know if it's that great of a thing if it's going to stick that closely to the original. I don't know. Dorian, what do you think? Without spoiling anything about Last of Us.
What are so just Last of Us? If we're talking about Last of Us and not Last of Us Part Two, I think that I'm personally I'm fine with it. If it just if it just enhances what we've already seen, like maybe they give us a little bit of more backstory at the beginning before the incident happens. Maybe they just explore a little bit of what they talked about during the game rather than them not showing us. So I'll be fine with it because I think the story is perfect as it is. You don't really want to touch it or stray too far away from the original material with this one, in my opinion. So I'm fine with it. Maybe it, like I said in my Last of Us spoiler review, I think it'd be cool to if they kind of maybe introduce Abby or some of the characters that will have a bigger impact in the second game. Maybe introduce them early on in the season or tease their characters or something like that. That's the only thing I would like want to see more of with them adapting this first game. So I'm fine with them sticking with the material and not straying too far away with it because already you saw the backlash from them doing some different things in Last of Us 2. So I could see him just being apprehensive and being like, well, I don't really want to like draw that type of fan base and get that type of reaction. So maybe let me just appease to these diehard fans and keep to the source material and just stick to what they know, so they don't just start sending me death threats and shit. So I could see that being the case as well.
Josh, what do you think?
Yeah. Were those the exact, well, more or less, were those the exact words they used, enhance?
He said, let me
Because
see.
what worries me
here.
is how vague that term can be, you know?
It says, in this case, I'm doing it with the guy who did it. So the changes that we're making are designed to fill out things and expand, not to undo, but rather to enhance.
Okay.
So
well,
it sounds like they really want to stick to what happens, at least major story points to stick to what happens.
I think of like this could be. I mean, first, well, he's working with Neil Druckmann himself, so it shouldn't. Yeah. I mean, it'll. However you felt about his choices in The Last of Us 2 doesn't matter. It's it's his baby, if you will. So I think they'll go in the right decision. But then again, I think of Star Wars, and they're like, no, we have George Lucas. He'll be with us to oversee these projects and make sure they're not crap. And then we're not going to get into that. That's another discussion. But I think it's like a 50-50 thing. They can either mess it up or do it very good. I know that they're going to work incredibly hard not to mess it up because, like you said, Dorian, if the director's ever used Twitter a day in his life, he'll know the wrath that'll come upon him if he does mess it up or change characters or, like, God forbid, like, I remember that rumor about them changing the sexuality, and it was like, oh, that was so much like fire that they had to like fan out. But I think of do you guys watch The Boys?
Yes. Yeah.
So I love The Boys, and now they're at the ending for The Boys, because without any spoilers, there's something that happens at the end of The Boys that is the exact opposite of what happens in the comic books. And in my opinion, that moment actually makes the series so much better. Like, that really was an enhancement of the series. And also from them doing that one major change, they kind of have creative freedom now with season 2, and they can differ a bit from the comic books. But that's for me, like, that's a good example. If you have seen the ending of The Boys and you've read the comics, that's a good example of how you can take something, completely change it, but enhance the actual story. And like, the story isn't really changing. If anything, the emotions behind it are heavier. Like, when this thing happened, I was so anxious and angry. Like, I almost threw up. I was like, ah. But yeah, I think they'll do a good job with it. First of all, I love Chernobyl. I think the guy's going to do a great job just based off of the work that he's already done. He's going to keep people happy. I think, if anything, they're probably just going to change up the timeline a little, to like make it flow a bit better in an episodic sense. That's the only thing that I'm thinking there. Like, they most likely will change it to make it a bit more, make it more sense in an episodic way. They're probably going to tighten up the timeline or change it up a bit. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. It's an interesting kind of tightrope to walk when it comes to these adaptations. Like I said, with Game of Thrones, it's like they stuck to a lot of the major points, but they changed characters, changed certain things that happened to who and whatnot. Walking Dead is like completely different than, not completely, because they do bring in similar characters, but the way that they handle them and the way the plots are completely different. So I don't know. I'm just kind of looking, as someone who's already played the game and loved the game, I want to see something different than just what I played. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like catch-22 because it's like you have this diehard fan base, but like Troy said in our interview, there's a lot of people who have not picked up a controller or even decided to give this game the time of day. So it's also like those HBO fans, like those adult fans that, what's this Last of Us series on HBO? Like, well, let me just jump into this and see if I'll enjoy it. So it's also about like you want to keep it as close to the material because you want to tell the story to new audiences that haven't maybe played the game. So that way it'll entice them to go play the game. So I think it's like you have to walk a fine line of keeping it to the original so the people that haven't seen or played the game get that same type of feeling, that same type of reaction, but still, like we said, enhancing it. So if we have sat there and we put in the hours and maybe replayed the game multiple times, it's not like, oh, we're just watching a quote unquote live action adaptation of the exact same thing we already saw. So I think it's just they got to find that balance. And I think since they're working with the game creator himself and this amazing director, I hope, and with HBO specifically, since I don't think they'll let them have the creative freedom they want to. I think we should get something great.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to some other kind of video game / TV news. We've got Splinter Cell Netflix animated series, which is funny because we talked about Ubisoft last week and the whole not giving a Splinter Cell. So they're giving Splinter Cell everywhere but the actual
the game.
So you had that Team Fortress like game. What was it called? Elite Squad or whatever. Now according to Variety, Splinter Cell has received a 2-season, 16-episode order from Netflix, and this is coming from the writer behind the John Wick movies. So he's going to write and executive produce this, and it's going to be Netflix and Ubisoft partnering for this animated series, not live action. So yeah, I mean, I'm a Splinter Cell fan. I'm excited for it. I just think it's funny that we're getting all these other things that are not a Splinter Cell game.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I'm not a Splinter Cell fan at all, but you just caught my interest with saying the director behind John Wick, the writers behind John Wick, because I love those movies. And you would think if you're bringing in that type of director, it would be live action. That would be an interesting thing to do, especially since they are, like we're going to talk about in a sec, they're doing more Witcher live action stuff. So you would think they would probably try to adapt it live action, but I don't know. I think you can do something really cool with the animated Splinter Cell series, especially if you have the visionary, somebody with John Wick with high action, not being restricted by something like live action. So I'm interested to see what this will be like. But I think it's just funny, like you said, that they're just giving the franchise every different type of reincarnation besides a new video game, which is pretty funny. But I'm cautiously optimistic to see what it looks like.
Yeah, and then Josh,
man, I don't know about this. I look, first of all, love John Wick. Absolutely love John Wick. I have no doubts that this guy can write and direct an amazing animated feature with a lot of action. But Splinter Cell is very different from John Wick. You know what I mean? It's more about stealth. There's a lot less gun fu as they call it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Then again, it's like, because it's a completely different medium, we don't really like. I don't know if he's done any other animation work before. I'm sure it's still going to be similar in terms of storyboarding it and all that stuff. I do like the idea of Tom Hardy being in it. I think like that'd be quite cool, just because he's got a very noticeable voice. But I don't know, man. Like you're making a Splinter Cell series written not like Tom Clancy's not involved. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Let's just say I'm a bit skeptical. I'll leave it at that. I'm a bit skeptical, but I'm reading here now as well. This is a bit off the topic. That did you guys know about this? A Dragon's Lair movie starring Ryan Reynolds.
No.
I mean, Ryan Reynolds is doing a lot of time. He's supposedly doing a Clue remake or reboot.
Oh
Ryan
yeah,
Reynolds has got his hands in a lot of what's
in
that
a lot
other
of
one?
stuff.
The NPC
Yeah, the
game.
one that
Yeah,
yeah.
that actually does look quite
What's
good
it
though. I'm not
called?
gonna
Free
lie.
Guy? Free Guy?
Yeah,
Yeah, Free
free
Guy.
guy,
Is
Yeah.
free
yeah,
guy. I want to check that out. But yeah, just to leave it at that, I'm skeptical. I don't know. Like the guy's
yeah.
good, but it's like you can be, you could honestly be. It's like being an amazing rapper, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna go and make the world's best country album. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know, man.
Yeah, as far as Tom Hardy, it says like there was supposed to be a feature film starring him, but the project is considered inactive right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
who knows what's going to happen with that. Another thing is The Witcher Blood Origin, which is going to be a prequel series for The Witcher, which is interesting because The Witcher has only put out one season so far. Usually prequel stuff usually comes out like either after a series is done or at least towards the end when they're like, okay, like for example, Better Call Saul is the prequel series to Breaking Bad that came out after Breaking Bad was done. You have Game of Thrones. The next series is actually a prequel series to what we already seen. You know, so usually you wait. This apparently is going to come out. You know, obviously, if we think The Witcher is going to stick around, which I think it will, because it's got pretty good ratings according to Netflix, even though they don't release numbers. But it was very at least well received by the fans. They're talking about a 6-part live action spin-off series, Witcher Blood Origin. You know, so I haven't finished the Witcher yet, the Netflix series. So I can't really gauge my interest so far. But did either one of you guys finish the Witcher Netflix series?
Oh, I
Yeah,
did. I
enjoyed it. Yeah.
absolutely loved it, and I'm
Okay.
not even a fan. I haven't even played the games. I just loved
Okay.
the show itself. So I'm definitely interested in a prequel series. I think what they're just trying to do, they're trying to get all their shit established before HBO has time to get out their Game of Thrones prequels and stuff like that. They're trying to while the hype for I don't want to say is down for Game of Thrones just because people still have a salty taste in their mouth from the last season. So they're trying to I feel like they're just trying to get their whole Game of Thrones type universe established before HBO has time to get their prequel and everything down the line that they're trying to do. But I'm definitely excited to see what the prequel series will look like, especially if they're dedicating more like doing it more as like a mini series type of thing, like 6 episodes done, then they can explore a different timeline or something like that. So I definitely am excited about this.
Josh.
Um, I enjoyed the Netflix series once I like got over certain things. Like I think they should have used a lot more practical effects than CGI in certain situations. But that's me being like nitpicky as like a filmmaker and a lover of film. Story wise, it's great. You know, the combat was good. Um, I didn't enjoy the timeline. I didn't like the way that they decided to tell the story and like line up the events. I wasn't a fan of that compared to the books and the games. But it still came out really well. And if you've never read the books and the games, you would never know anyways. You know what I mean?
I will say
That being
though, sorry to interrupt you. I
go
will say
ahead.
I had to like I've rewatched it like a couple times just because the whole like shifting timeline thing
It can be a bit
yeah,
confusing.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was confusing as hell. I was like I had to rewatch it a couple times. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, sorry, Josh, continue.
But yeah, they're gonna have a lot more freedom with the prequel because from what I can tell, it's not based off of it's. I mean, it's based off of the lore, but it's not based off of the books or the games. It's just based off of the lore. So they have a lot more creative freedom with that. I mean, they're going to be exploring elves and more of like the other races with regards to the Witcher series. But with that creative freedom, they can definitely. I think they can pull out a better show than the one that's out right now. I think. Like quality wise, I don't know what their budget's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be same quality, worse quality, but at least in terms of story, I think they can tell a better story. Not that because The Witcher is a great story, but I'm saying like I don't. It was the way that they told the story that I wasn't a fan of. But it was still. I'm still going to watch like the sequel, like the season 2. You know what I mean? That
Hmm.
doesn't mean I'm like not a fan of it. But I think they're going to have a lot more freedom with the prequel, and I think that they could do a better job. You know what I mean? Excel. But you are right. I also think part of the choice that they're doing a prequel is also just capitalizing off of how much money they spent on the set. You know, they spent so much money on like the sets and all the props and all the stuff. They know they're going to be doing it for like a couple seasons, but Like, there's only so much you can do from an adaptation of a book or a video game. So you dip your feet into the prequels, man. You milk it for as much as you can.
Yeah. All right, moving on. This next one is actually, so I don't think this is confirmed, but the rumor is that Spider-Man, the Miles Morales game, is going to include a full remaster version of the original, which, you know, I think even fans who have played the first game would love to play an upgraded version using the PS5 hardware. Now, this is not, confirmed, so I'm wondering, like, if this actually happens, like, how much more is that going to boost sales? I think a lot, because I think people will be like, okay, maybe the Miles Morales game isn't going to be as big or as long as the original Spider-Man one, but I get Spider-Man remastered and I can play through that again. I mean, I know most of us would be getting this anyways, but what do you think this does for the sales and the reception for Spider-Man Miles Morales, Dorian?
I think that it's smart as hell if they're going to attach this to the Miles Morales standalone game and make it like a bonus package, because what it will do, in my opinion, if you have a PS5 or if you have a PS4 or PS5 and you're like, oh wait, I want to play this Miles Morales game, but I haven't played the Spider-Man game. Will I get it if it's a continuation, if it's a standalone? Putting them together, we're allowing, if you want to, if you haven't played the original, you could play the Spider-Man game, get a feel for Miles Morales as an introduction, so it makes sense when you jump into the next game or into Miles' game, I mean, and then you would understand everything that's going on, and you would have a greater appreciation for the character since you've understood where he came from in the first game. So I think it's smart to bundle these together. And like you said, I've already played through the first game, but I would definitely jump at the opportunity to see what upgrades, what changes would look like on the PS5, and how just everything would feel on the new system. So I think it's smart because it's a win-win if you already have the Spider-Man game on PS4 and you're just wanting to get the Miles game and you get the same game but on the new system. I think there's no downside to it, so it would only benefit them, in my opinion.
Josh?
So I think of it from a development point of view, where it's like, when I heard about them doing the spin-off for Miles Morales, first of all, I played Spider-Man, loved it, and as soon as you kind of see Miles's origin, if you will, or part of it, I was hyped. I was like, they better release a Miles Morales game. So it's smart that they did. But when they released it, I was like, now they're not going to build New York from the ground up again for a new system on a new type of engine. It wouldn't make sense to me financially. You know what I mean? Then again, they are going to eventually be putting out a Spider-Man sequel. So it's one of those things where they were like, for me, it just made sense to use what they had from the original Spider-Man game in terms of resources for the Miles Morales game. So if they're using the same resources, in theory, it should be fairly easy for them to put out this remaster. And I think it can't do anything, like, this can't do anything bad. There's no bad things linked to this. It can only be positives. I think it'll definitely boost sales. Like, I was gonna get the game anyways, but now I'm way more excited for the game, and I'm more than happy to pay. Now I'm happy. Like, if the game comes out with a full remaster, more than happy to pay the full $60. You know what I mean?
Yeah, originally people were thinking maybe 40 because it was not a full game, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and it's probably, like I said, probably going to be using older resources. So I'd be more than happy to pay the extra 20 for a remaster. You know?
Yeah, and then on top of that, I'm just thinking about it. Also, I already knew they're going to probably make customized Miles Morales PS5s, but doing a bundle package where it's like them both on the cover together, like, get this bundle package and you see Miles and Peter in their suits and things like that. That's a whole nother, like, different avenue. Like, I think would definitely get people hyped to you market them together. Like, hey, get both of these people, get a whole PS5 with them on the system and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of different ways they can market it if they do decide to remaster it and bundle it together. So like Josh and me said, I think that it can only benefit Sony at this point rather than hurt them.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, this was a rumor, but it sounds like something that's true. And I think based on, remember when they were doing those PS5 hardware tests, they were using Spider-Man as an example in terms of the loading speed. So it makes sense. Maybe they did more than that. You know, maybe they were working on just remastering the whole thing, doing tests or whatever.
I mean, the
So
game looks beautiful. Like I played it
yeah.
again recently on a PS4 Pro, and dude, the Manhattan looks amazing. Like
Yeah.
I genuinely can't wait to see what it looks like on the PS5. You know, on a
Yeah.
4K screen.
Okay. Moving on. Hyperscape Season 1 announcement trailer. I have not played this game yet. Dorian, you played this game, right? Hyperscape?
Yeah, I played a little bit.
What'd you think of the Season 1 announcement? There's so many the free-to-play games with their season announcements and season changing. It's just, and we talked about Halo doing, something probably similar in the future as well. Like, I don't know. Is this just another one in the many that we're gonna have?
I feel like it seemed cool, like the trailer seemed cool to me, but in my you already know how I feel about Hyperscape. I'm not good at it. I've tried it a few times. I haven't played it. I went back and tried to play it yesterday, and still the same results. Like it's called insanity. When you try something the same time and get the same results, that's what's happening for me. I'm just trash every time. So I have no I'm not going. I don't see myself going back to it anytime soon. Maybe if y'all want to stream it or play it together or something, then I will. But besides that, this isn't. I don't know. It's not for me. It looks fun and it seems fun. I'm just not the player for it. But the trailer did give me hype. Just it looked cool. But like I said again, it's not for me. I'm not going to play it. So that it's in the Fortnite category for me right now. It's in that category. It's like they might have cool announcements if they have a Hyperscape, somebody's performing on. If you got Travis Scott to perform on Hyperscape, yes, I will be back on the app. But besides that, it's in that category for me right now.
Josh, have you played it yet? I know you're big on Valorant right now. Have you played any Hyperscape?
Yeah, actually, because it's like right after the Ubisoft event, they released it. So I played some of it. I personally really enjoy it. I didn't see the season 1 trailer, so I can't make any comments on that right now. But I don't think that this is a game that's going to disappear anytime soon. I think it's going to. I do think the hype has already died out, no matter how you look at it. Same with Valorant. It's so difficult to keep hype for any new type of free game nowadays because there are so many coming out. It's so difficult to keep that hype up. But the only way that this game can become irrelevant is if Unreal Tournament or Quake decided to come out with their own battle royale, because it's an arena shooter. It's the only arena shooter I know in battle royale mode that's free to play, with customization options. I like arena rail shooters. I just like arena shooters in general, which is why I like the game. I think the game's a bit too big and there's too many players. I think that the game would function well if the games were just a little bit shorter, because it's such fast gameplay. There can be moments where you're just looking for someone and doing nothing, but you want to, Quake is a game, you just got to be on it, man. You got to be keep moving. So I feel like they should take away maybe 20 players for the just for the battle royale mode, make the game a little bit tighter. But I enjoy it. I see this game doing well, not excessively well. I don't see it knocking out any I don't see this taking over the number 1 spot from anybody. I don't think it's going to do better than Apex. I don't think it's going to do better than Fortnite. It might do better than Warzone in the long run, but that's only because people are getting sick and tired of the Warzone updates being 100 gigs big,
And speaking of, that's interesting that you mentioned Quake, because there is a Quake Con. They're having Bethesda's having a Quake Con next week, so maybe they drop the ball and make an announcement hey, we're giving our
that'd be crazy,
here's our battle royale game. So that'd be funny, but yeah, I that you made another point. When I do play with Hyperscape, I get dropped somewhere, I'm looking for a weapon half the time, and then when I find a weapon, I'm running around trying to find somebody. Then I find somebody after 3 minutes, and I get killed, and I'm just sitting there.
That sounds like my Call of Duty Blackout experience.
And then waiting for one of my teammates to come respawn me or whatever. And I don't like the respawning things on here. I absolutely hate it. Hyperscape, not for me.
They need to find a way to make it, because if you've ever played Unreal Tournament or Quake, the maps are small. That's what makes them so much fun, Well, they're not huge by any means, compared to some Call of Duty maps. They're small to medium sized, and I don't know. They just need to find a way where people start interacting with each other more often. I know you get there are certain hot drops and hot zones that'll have more items and more people, but they need some kind of they need their own gulag. If you played Warzone, when you die, you go to this 1v1 gulag thing. But they need something to keep the combat moving, because otherwise it's so difficult for you to get into that super fast-paced combat mentality when you've been walking around for 5 minutes doing nothing, I don't know. So the game, I definitely see this game needing a lot more improvements. I don't think they're going to do well in terms of Battle Pass sales or Season 1. If there is a Battle Pass tied to it, I don't think they're going to do well in sales. They're not going to see like an extreme profit for a long time. But the game still, it's showing a lot of promise. I just hope that they push more and do more and tackle these issues that we mentioned.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Like everyone's getting into the game. You know, getting so. Go ahead, Dorian.
I have been playing Valorant though. That I just started that a couple days ago. I love that one. I can play that now. If I had to choose between Valorant and Hyperscape, your boy's picking Valorant. Like I was trash at it, and this is like the first, besides Halo, I've been playing a little bit of that. This is like the first PC or battle royale type of game that I'm playing on the PC itself, like using the mouse as a gun and stuff. So I'm getting used to that. Like I'm still training, of course, but absolutely loving that. And I'm gonna start streaming that. So Josh, we need to coordinate and figure out a time so we can play together.
Well, while we're on that topic, if anybody uses the Collider Discord, if you guys ever see me online playing Valorant, you play Valorant, just send me a message, hop on. Something else to bring up, which is hilarious, is I just realized this mic is unplugged, so I've been holding it up and talking it into it for no reason this entire time. That's fun. Yeah, real smooth there. But yeah, no, I'm glad you're playing Valorant. It's good because the games are quick. It's like
you die, you just chill. I'm like, all right, give me 30 seconds.
5 minutes. You know what I mean? I mean, it's mind you, you're playing like if you're playing normal, it's first to like 14, I think, or first to 13.
Dude, those games are long. Like one round was like an hour for me. It was like, bro, all right.
But dude, Spike Rush is where it's at.
It was 12 versus it was 12, or I mean, it was like 11 points versus 11 points. I was like, all right, I feel like this is a basketball game or something. Like I'm playing like a full. Like I'm tired. I feel like 1 or 2 rounds and I'm good for the rest of the day. I need to take a break.
That's why I like the Spike Rush. It's first to 4, super quick.
Okay, I haven't played that. I haven't played that one. I don't think.
That's the best, man. You don't have to choose your weapons. You get given the loadout. You just go. You get in the game. You go. And then they give you all your abilities off the right off the bat. You know what I mean? You get your.
You don't have to buy them.
No, you just get given weapons and you go.
Spike Rush. All right.
And it's first to 4. That's it.
That sounds.
And the games are quick. The games are like 10 to 15 minutes. You know what I mean? At most 20 minutes if you're like tied and doing good. But yeah, that's a good example of a game it can be fast paced or slow paced, but it's always intense. Like even if you're just like guarding the bomb and you're not engaging in combat, it's high stakes. You know, because if you're dead, then who's gonna guard the bomb? You know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last 2 things here. Epic Games Store gets achievements and mods. I actually didn't know they didn't have achievements and mods. I thought that was just kind of given, but apparently it's something they've been working on, and now they're going to support that, which, you know, will only help benefit them to help compete against Steam, because everyone loves, you know, getting their achievements for the games that they own and play, and also mods. The modding community is a huge thing, and they can extend the lifespan of certain games. What do you guys think? I just think it makes sense. I just didn't know that it hadn't already started.
I'll go first, which is
my bad.
I personally don't care.
Really?
It's one of those things where I've never cared, even with like PlayStation or Xbox, and there's this trophy system, this cheat. I mean, you look at like Rooster Teeth. They had a whole channel dedicated to. It's called Achievement Hunter. You know, dedicated to getting those achievements. And I love that stuff, but it's also like I personally don't care about trophies. Who's got what trophy? I play the game, man. Like I think like Steam's been doing this whole achievement badge thing I don't even care about that. Like when you told me, I was so unfazed. I was like, okay, cool. Right. I mean, some people like it because it does help build community. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it helps. Like it helps that for the modding community, that's great. The fact that they didn't have mods in the first place, a bit baffling, or like mod support, because like the Steam Workshop is like if you use the Steam Workshop, seeing the things that people come up with like for the games that you play it baffles me. It's amazing, sometimes stupidly amazing, you know. But I like it, so it's a good thing, you know. It's just making it more accessible to mod more games. I think that's smart, you know. I don't care about the achievements though. Couldn't care less.
I echo everything Josh has said. I truly do not care, and that's pretty much it. I don't.
I'm about to lose you guys. Just letting you know, my data is about to run out, so I'm gonna probably sign off here.
All right, cool.
Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the podcast, and I'll see you guys next week. I've been playing a lot of Valorant. hop back into Assassin's Creed because Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a huge game. It's freaking huge. So I'm back into that, trying to finish it. All the best. You guys can catch me on Instagram at josh.toki, and you guys can catch me on Twitch at josh_toki, and right here on the Collider channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye, guys.
Peace, man.
Later. So yeah, we just have one last topic. I think for the Epic Games Store achievements, it's not something I hunt either. When I get them, I'm like, oh, cool, but I don't actually go looking for them. But for some people, it's like a big thing. So more power to them. Mods definitely much more important as well. Last thing here, maybe we'll talk with this Josh some more next week, because this is a rumor, but it sounds like kind of like the Miles Morales and the remaster of Spider-Man. This sounds kind of like it could be true. Basically, a report from VentureBeat reporter and industry insider Jeff Grubb claims that Xbox may be getting rid of Xbox Live Gold entirely, which means that multiplayer will be free for everyone.
Hell yeah.
So you're not... Go ahead.
Wait, because that's what I was about to ask. Like, so I think I have Xbox Gold Live, but I also have Game Pass. I think my total's like
with Game Pass you get Live Gold.
Okay, so what's the point?
Well, the point is right now, like, I don't have Game Pass because I just don't have enough time to play the games. I think it's the best deal in video game. Like, that's why I'm saying, like,
crazy.
That's why I'm saying, even like when I think about, okay, PS5 perhaps is going to have more of the games I'm going to want to play in the next generation, and I may be switching teams, quote unquote, to PS5. But to me, with what Xbox Game Pass is, it's still worth it to buy an Xbox Series X and just get Game Pass and play all the games on there, because you get access to all their exclusives. So like, why wouldn't you? You know, you're paying, let's say, $15 a month. You know, that's not a lot if you're playing enough games. You know. So, anyways, the rumors are, and part of the reason why these rumors are starting is because Xbox themselves, Microsoft, has taken off the yearly plans for Live Gold. Like, you can't buy yearly plans. Usually it's like $60 a year, which is cheaper than paying, every month or every 3 months. But they've taken those down and only had the 1, 2, 3 month purchases. So people are thinking that once they launch Xbox Series X, that Xbox Live Gold will be free. So everyone just play multiplayer for free, and then then that will encourage people to possibly just buy a Game Pass.
Just get the game. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Just you make free, and then you say, hey, if you get Game Pass, you can get Halo. You can get all these different multiplayer games that you can play with your friends, and it's a good ass deal. So I think that's a good move.
Yeah, it's also just something. Like, it's like PlayStation Plus, the Xbox Live Gold, but I think PlayStation, you can play multiplayer for free anyways without the PlayStation Plus. But yeah, I think this is the right move, and hopefully it happens. All right, I think that's it. You and me are going to be playing some Avengers Beta this weekend. Yep. We'll have our impressions. I think, when's the embargo date? I think
August 5th at 6 a.m.
Yeah, so we'll have a video up on August 5th, which is Tuesday, I think?
Yeah.
Or Wednesday. It's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday. So we'll have a video Wednesday with our first impressions of Avengers. And all right, Dorian, where can people find you?
You guys can find me at Dorian Parks and Rec on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram at Dorian Parks, and you can find me right here on the Collider Games channel.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng. And you can also subscribe. Make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Collider Games. Also subscribe to our podcast feed. That's the Collider Factory feed every single week for this, interviews, and a whole lot more. All right, until next time, see you guys later.